Cops kill an old woman, unaware her son is a Delta Force legend. Corrupt cops kill an old woman and the town covers it up. But what happens when her estranged son returns? Prepare for the shocking twist. Her son is a Delta Force legend, back for justice and ready to dismantle the entire corrupt system from the shadows. Like, subscribe, and listen now to hear how this elite warrior takes them down. Rain hammered the already slick pavement of Elm Street, reflecting the strobing red and blue lights in distorted, bleeding patterns. Yellow tape, stark against the gloom, cordoned off the small, tidy bungalow. On the covered front porch, partially obscured by crime scene technicians moving with practiced indifference, lay the body of Helen Martinez, 68. 4 dark stains blossomed on the front of her simple house dress, stark against the floral print, soaking into the welcome mat beneath her. Officers Derek Holt and Mason Reed stood nearby, conferring with Chief Brody, their expressions carefully neutral, rain dripping from the brims of their caps. She came at Holt with a kitchen knife. Reed recounted, his voice loud enough for the few huddled, rain-soaked neighbors watching from across the street to potentially overhear. Lunged right at him. We had no choice. Holt nodded grimly, adding, tragic. Responding to a disturbance call, ended like this. She seemed agitated, confused. He nudged something small and metallic further under a porch chair with the toe of his boot, something that definitely wasn't a kitchen knife. Chief Brody surveyed the scene, his face impassive. All right, he declared, his voice carrying authority. Standard procedure. Looks like a justified shooting in self-defense. Secure the scene, get statements from any potential witnesses, though I doubt anyone saw much in this downpour. IA will review, but let's wrap this efficiently. He clapped Holt on the shoulder. Tough call, Derek. You did what you had to. A curtain twitched in the house next door. An elderly face peered out, eyes wide with fear, before quickly retreating. On the porch, under the cold glare of the police lights, Helen Martinez lay still, her blood mingling with the relentless Pennsylvania rain, the official story already solidifying around her like hardening concrete. But the cold finality of the scene, the rehearsed lines, the object kicked under the chair, the fear in the neighbor's eyes, it all screamed that the truth was far darker, far more brutal, than the official narrative being hastily constructed. What really happened on Helen Martinez's porch tonight? Thousands of miles away, in a Spartan, anonymous cabin nestled deep in the Colorado Rockies, Alex Martinez received the news via a crackling satellite phone connection. The call was brief, official, sterile. His mother, Helen, deceased. Officer involved shooting. Justifiable homicide pending review. Alex, 40, listened in silence, his face unreadable, the only outward sign of the impact being the tightening of his grip on the phone, his knuckles turning white. Alex hadn't been back to Rust Haven, Pennsylvania, the decaying former steel town where he grew up, in over 15 years. His life had taken a drastically different path. A decorated graduate of West Point, he'd spent the better part of 2 decades in the shadows, rising through the ranks of the Army's most elite counterterrorism unit, Delta Force. He was a Tier 1 operator, a ghost who moved through the world's most dangerous hotspots, a master of surveillance, infiltration, close-quarters combat, and strategic planning. His life was one of extreme discipline, controlled violence, and emotional compartmentalization. It had cost him relationships, left him with scars both visible and invisible, and created an unbridgeable distance from the quiet, predictable life his mother represented in Rust Haven. Their communication had dwindled to infrequent, stilted phone calls, the gap between his world and hers too vast to easily cross. He carried a quiet guilt about the distance, But the demands of his former profession, the need for operational security and emotional detachment, had become ingrained. He now ran a private security consultancy specializing in high-risk recovery and threat assessment, preferring the isolation of his mountain retreat. Rust Haven, Pennsylvania, was a town slowly being consumed by its own history. Shuttered factories stood like skeletal remains along the river. Unemployment was high, and an undercurrent of quiet desperation fueled a growing opioid crisis. Corruption, long rumored within the town's leadership and police department, seemed to fester just beneath the surface, protected by apathy and a sense of inevitability. Chief Brody, a fixture in the town for decades, ran the department like a personal fiefdom, promoting loyalists like Derek Holt and Mason Reed, officers known more for their swagger and quick tempers than their professionalism. Helen Martinez had been a quiet fixture in Rust Haven. A widow for 20 years, she lived simply in the small bungalow her husband had built, tending her garden, volunteering at the library, occasionally voicing concerns about the town's decline at council meetings. She was observant, principled, and possessed a quiet tenacity. It was this observant nature, this refusal to turn a blind eye, that would ultimately lead her to stumble upon the dark secret Holt and Reed were protecting, their deep involvement in the drug trade poisoning her town, and seal her fate on a rain-slicked porch. Alex, hearing the detached official account of her death, knew instantly, with a cold certainty honed by years of assessing threats, that the official story was a lie. His mother wasn't violent. She wasn't confused. She was murdered. The official explanation: deceased lunged at officer with knife during disturbance call, officer fired in self-defense, grated against everything Alex knew about his mother. Helen Martinez wouldn't lunge at anyone, let alone a police officer. A kitchen knife? She used paring knives for her roses, maybe a bread knife for her weekly baking, but she wasn't the type to wield one in aggression. And a disturbance call? Her street was quiet, mostly retirees. It didn't add up. His Delta training kicked in immediately, overriding the initial shock and burgeoning grief. Analyze the situation. Identify inconsistencies. Assess the threat. The laconic official report, the quick ruling of justifiable homicide, the lack of detail, it all screamed cover-up. His mother hadn't just died. She had been silenced. The inciting incident wasn't just the news of her death. It was the lie surrounding it. It was the blatant disrespect, the assumption that her life, her truth, could be so easily erased by corrupt men hiding behind badges. A cold, tightly controlled rage began to build within him, familiar from countless high-stress operations, but this time deeply, dangerously personal. His objective formed instantly, devoid of emotion, purely mission-oriented. Return to Rust Haven. Conduct covert reconnaissance. Identify all involved parties. Ascertain the true motive for the killing. Gather irrefutable evidence. And ensure accountability. Justice in Alex's world wasn't always delivered through official channels, especially when those channels were compromised. His reaction was methodical, precise. Within hours, he had booked a flight under an alias, packed a nondescript duffel bag with specialized surveillance gear, communication devices, and tools adaptable for various contingencies. He wiped his digital footprint, secured his remote cabin, and notified his few trusted contacts he was going off-grid for an undetermined period. He wasn't returning to Rust Haven as Helen Martinez's grieving son. He was returning as an operator, infiltrating hostile territory to neutralize a threat and achieve a clear objective. He landed in Pittsburgh, rented an anonymous sedan, and drove the final stretch to Rust Haven under the cover of darkness, bypassing his mother's sealed-off house and checking into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town under another false name. He allowed himself one moment, parked down the street from the bungalow where he grew up, looking at the yellow-taped Stark under the streetlights, the darkened windows. Grief threatened to surface, raw and overwhelming, but he ruthlessly suppressed it. Emotion was a liability. Grief could wait. First came the mission. His initial goal was reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Find the truth. Then, decide on the appropriate response. The quiet, estranged son was gone. The Delta operator had arrived. Alex moved through Rust Haven like a ghost. During the day, he was just another face, blending into the town's weary backdrop. At night, he became an apex predator in his element. Drawing on years of tradecraft, he began his surveillance of officers Holt and Reed. Their arrogance made them sloppy. Alex easily attached GPS trackers to their personal vehicles and police cruisers. Using sophisticated listening devices, he monitored their calls, picking up coded language related to drug movements and hushed conversations confirming their anxiety about the Martinez shooting. Not guilt, but fear of exposure. He set up micro cameras near their homes and frequented bars, capturing footage of their off-duty behavior. Heavy drinking, casual racism, bragging about their untouchability under Chief Brody's protection. He heard them specifically joke about the old bitch getting what she deserved for sticking her nose where it didn't belong. He conducted a covert reconnaissance of his mother's house after the police tape came down. While the official investigation had been cursory, Alex's trained eye found inconsistencies. The angle of the bullet holes didn't match a close-quarters lunge, the lack of blood spatter where the knife attack supposedly occurred, the suspiciously clean area where a knife might have been planted and removed. He also found her favorite gardening trowel lying near the porch steps, perhaps the weapon she was actually holding when shot. His surveillance quickly confirmed the drug connection. Holt and Reed were key players in distributing narcotics flowing into Rust Haven, using their badges for cover, likely kicking back a significant portion to Chief Brody, who ensured their activities went unpunished and internal investigations were squashed. Helen must have witnessed the deal, perhaps documented it, and made the fatal mistake of confronting them or threatening to go over Brody's head. While Alex gathered intelligence from the shadows, another investigation began, albeit much more cautiously, within the Rust Haven Police Department itself. Tyler Graves, barely a year out of the academy, was troubled by the Helen Martinez shooting. He'd known Mrs. Martinez vaguely. She sometimes brought cookies to the station. The official report felt rushed, incomplete. The way Holt and Reed strutted around, the way Chief Brody shut down any questions, it didn't sit right with Tyler's idealistic view of justice. Risking reprimand, Tyler started pulling on loose threads. He quietly re-interviewed the terrified neighbor, who, away from official scrutiny, hinted she saw Helen holding only an umbrella when the shots were fired. He reviewed the evidence logs, noting the alleged kitchen knife wasn't properly bagged or tagged initially. He felt like he was grasping at straws, isolated within a department where asking questions was discouraged. Then, he found something concrete. While reviewing Helen's personal effects logged after the initial crime scene processing, items deemed irrelevant to the official narrative, he noticed an old address book. Tucked inside, missed by the cursory search, was a small, cheap notebook. Its pages were filled with Helen's neat handwriting, detailing dates, times, license plate numbers, and locations. Observations of cars meeting late at night near the abandoned rail yard. Descriptions matching Holt and Reed, mentions of packages exchanged. It was Helen's meticulous record of the drug activity she had witnessed. Tyler felt a jolt of adrenaline mixed with fear. This was it. Proof. But what could he, a rookie, do with it against his own chief and two armed, corrupt colleagues? Alex, through his surveillance, became aware of Tyler's quiet digging. He saw the rookie reviewing the Martinez file late at night, saw him visiting the neighbor, saw the moment of discovery when Tyler found the notebook, likely via a hidden camera Alex had placed near his mother's house earlier. Tyler was potentially an ally, someone inside the system who could make the evidence stick after Alex dealt with the immediate threat. But he was also a risk, naive, and vulnerable. Alex needed to control the timing, ensure his own objectives were met first. The complication wasn't just the corrupt cops. It was the emergence of an unpredictable, idealistic officer holding dangerous evidence. The discovery of Helen Martinez's notebook became the catalyst, the midpoint that irrevocably shifted the trajectory for both Alex and Tyler, though they didn't yet know of each other's full intentions. For Tyler Graves, the notebook transformed his vague suspicions into terrifying certainty. He held physical proof, meticulously documented by the victim herself, detailing the criminal activities of Holt, Reed, and potentially, by implication, the command structure that protected them. He spent hours poring over the entries, cross-referencing license plates, matching dates to known patrols. The evidence was damning. His initial goal, to satisfy his own conscience about the suspicious shooting, evolved into a far more dangerous objective: expose the corruption that had led to Helen's murder and festered within his own department. But how? Going directly to Chief Brody was unthinkable. Going to Internal Affairs felt equally risky, as Brody likely had informants there. He felt isolated, holding a lit fuse, unsure where to turn without getting himself killed or discredited. He made encrypted copies of the notebook pages, hiding the original, acutely aware of the danger he was now in. For Alex Martinez, observing Tyler's discovery via his covert surveillance confirmed Tyler's potential value, but also heightened the risk. The notebook was the hard evidence Alex lacked, the piece that could corroborate his surveillance data and ensure a legitimate prosecution after he neutralized Holt and Reed. If Tyler acted prematurely, went to the wrong person, or got scared and destroyed the evidence, Alex's carefully planned operation could be compromised. More importantly, Tyler himself could become target. Alex realized he couldn't simply let events unfold. He needed to establish contact, guide the situation, ensure Tyler didn't detonate the evidence too soon or in the wrong way. His mission expanded beyond personal justice for his mother. It now included protecting the evidence she died creating and potentially protecting the young officer who had found it. He couldn't risk direct contact, couldn't reveal his presence or identity. He needed a secure, anonymous channel. He decided to make the first move, leveraging Tyler's isolation and suspicion. Using a burner phone and encrypted messaging app, Alex sent Tyler a single, untraceable text message. "You found her notebook. They know you're looking. Trust no one inside. More soon." The message terrified Tyler, but also strangely validated his fears, confirming he wasn't just being paranoid. Someone else knew. Someone else was watching. Who? He didn't reply, unsure how, but the message solidified his resolve to protect the notebook at all costs and wait, hoping this anonymous entity was an ally, not another threat. This anonymous contact, initiated by Alex based on his surveillance of Tyler finding the notebook, was the turning point. It forged a tentative, invisible link between the hardened Delta operator seeking justice outside the system and the idealistic rookie seeking it from within. Alex moved from pure reconnaissance to active, albeit covert, influence. Tyler moved from isolated suspicion to possessing concrete evidence and the knowledge that he wasn't entirely alone, however mysterious his unseen contact might be. The point of no return was reached. Both men were now irrevocably committed to bringing down the corrupt officers, their paths intertwined, heading toward a confrontation with Holt, Reed, and Chief Brody. The anonymous text message sent ripples of anxiety and determination through Tyler Graves. He became hypervigilant, scrutinizing his colleagues, acutely aware of Chief Brody's seemingly casual inquiries about his recent activities. He secured the original notebook in a safe deposit box under a relative's name, relying only on his encrypted digital copies. He felt the crushing weight of the secret, the isolation deepening even as the anonymous message offered a strange sort of camaraderie. He waited, checking his burner phone constantly for the promised follow-up, jumping at every unexpected notification. Alex, meanwhile, used the brief waiting period to refine his operational plan. Knowing Tyler now held the crucial notebook, Alex's priority shifted slightly. He still intended to neutralize Holt and Reed himself, believing they were too dangerous to leave operational while Tyler tried to navigate the system. But now, the takedown needed to be executed in a way that seamlessly handed the baton to Tyler, providing him with an opportunity to discover further evidence and officially apprehend the suspects, triggering the larger investigation into Brody and the network. Alex intensified his surveillance, mapping Holt and Reed's patterns with even greater precision, identifying their vulnerabilities. He noted their preferred routes, their off-duty habits, their communication protocols. He also began subtly probing the security and layout of the abandoned industrial site near the old rail yard. The location Helen's notebook indicated was a frequent hub for their illicit activities. He identified blind spots in potential police response, escape routes, and optimal points for ambush and containment. He sent a second encrypted message to Tyler. Rail Yard Warehouse. Sector 4. Observe comms blackout, 2,300 hours, Thursday. Your call after confirmation signal. Bring backup you trust. Only backup you trust. Evidence will be waiting. He included a simple coded confirmation signal Tyler was to wait for. This message served multiple purposes. It directed Tyler towards the eventual scene, gave him a specific time frame, implicitly warned him of communication jamming, a standard Alex would employ, advised him to bring reliable backup, testing Tyler's judgment, and promised evidence, framing it as something Tyler would officially find. It gave Tyler a concrete action plan while keeping Alex's direct involvement hidden. Tyler received the message with a mix of fear and resolve. Thursday, 2,300 hours. Rail Yard Warehouse. He knew the place, derelict, isolated, rumored to be used by local gangs and dealers. The instruction about trusted backup was critical. He thought hard. There were only 2 officers on the force he felt he could potentially rely on, officers who had shown subtle signs of discontent with Brody's leadership and Holt and Reed's bullying, Miller and Shunn. Approaching them was risky. If they were compromised or simply didn't believe him, he was finished. He spent the next 2 days subtly sounding them out, gauging their reactions to departmental rumors, feeling them out about the Martinez case without revealing what he knew. He decided he had to take the chance on Officer Miller, an older veteran nearing retirement, known for being quiet but observant. He approached Miller cautiously, presenting hypothetical scenarios, eventually revealing his deep unease about the Martinez shooting and mentioning potential evidence he couldn't yet share. Miller listened intently, his expression grim, finally nodding slowly. "All right, Graves," Miller said quietly. "Thursday, 2,300. I'll ride with you, but this better be solid." The regrouping involved Alex finalizing his tactical plan for the takedown, ensuring it was non-lethal but decisive, and preparing the evidence package to be left for Tyler. Tyler, meanwhile, secured his one crucial ally within the department, preparing for the official response. The alliance, though still anonymous on Alex's side, was now operational. The stage was set for the confrontation at the rail yard warehouse. The 48 hours leading up to Thursday night were stretched taut with anticipation and near misses. Alex conducted final reconnaissance of the warehouse area, planting discreet, remotely detonated non-lethal devices, flashbangs for disorientation, perhaps EMP charges to disable radios and cell signals within a limited radius. He prepared his gear, silenced tranquilizer pistol for non-lethal takedown if necessary, restraints, night vision equipment, encrypted communication jammer, burner phones, and the evidence package, copies of Helen's notebook pages highlighting key entries, anonymous printouts detailing some of Holt and Reed illicit financial transactions gleaned from surveillance, and a small, framed photo of his mother he intended to leave as a calling card. He engineered the lure meticulously, using a cloned burner phone number known to be used by one of Holt and Reed's drug contacts. He sent them an urgent message. Emergency meet. Huerjo Sector 4. Midnight. Compromised shipment. Come alone. No radio chatter. He timed it for midnight, giving himself an hour after the comms blackout at 2,300 to finalize his setup and Tyler time to get Miller and position themselves nearby, out of sight but ready to respond to Alex's signal. Meanwhile, Tyler Graves felt the pressure mounting. Chief Brody seemed to be watching him more closely, assigning him tedious paperwork, keeping him off patrol rotations near the rail yard. Holt and Reed, perhaps sensing something amiss or just emboldened by Brody, made snide remarks, bumping into him in the hallway, testing his nerve. Tyler focused on maintaining a calm exterior, confiding only in Officer Miller. Miller, true to his word, arranged their Thursday night shift patrol route to coincidentally pass near the rail yard around the designated time, citing routine checks on vacant properties for the logbook. The dark night arrived for both men. Alex, concealed in the shadows near the warehouse, felt the familiar pre-mission tension mixed with the raw grief for his mother. Was this justice or just sophisticated revenge? Could he maintain control, stick to the non-lethal plan when facing the men who murdered Helen? The ghosts of past operations whispered doubts, but the image of his mother's face, the memory of her quiet strength, steadied his resolve. Tyler, sitting beside Miller in their patrol car parked on a dark side street a quarter-mile from the warehouse, felt a sickening knot of fear in his stomach. Was he trusting a ghost? Leading his trusted colleague into a trap? What if Alex wasn't an ally, but someone setting them all up? What if Holt and Reed opened fire? He gripped his radio, his hands sweating, checking his service weapon for the 10th time. Miller sat beside him, silent, watchful, radiating a calm Tyler desperately tried to emulate. At exactly 2,300 hours, Alex activated the localized communication jammer. Radios crackled with static, cell signals vanished. He moved into his final position. He watched as Holt and Reed's unmarked car approached the warehouse, headlights cutting through the darkness, parking near the designated spot. He saw them get out, guns drawn, looking jumpy, clearly unnerved by the communication blackout and the urgent summons. The final test was here. Alex took a deep breath, focused his training, and prepared to engage. Miles away, Tyler Graves stared at his silent radio, waiting for the signal that would trigger the official endgame. Holt and Reed moved cautiously towards the darkened warehouse floor, their flashlights cutting nervous beams through the gloom. Smells like a setup, Holt muttered, his hand tight on his pistol. Radio's dead too. Just get the package and let's bounce, Reed replied, equally edgy. As they reached the warehouse loading bay, a sudden, blinding flash erupted from within, followed by a deafening bang. Alex's disorientation grenade. The two corrupt cops staggered back, momentarily blinded and deafened, firing wildly into the darkness. Alex used the split seconds of confusion, moving with blinding speed and silence from the shadows flanking the bay. He closed the distance. He disarmed Holt first, a swift, brutal sequence of strikes targeting nerve points and joints, sending the officer crashing to the ground, weapon skittering away, arm likely broken. Reed, turning wildly, managed to fire another shot before Alex neutralized him with a precisely aimed tranquilizer dart to the thigh. Reed collapsed, momentarily conscious but his leg muscles seizing, unable to stand or fight. Alex quickly and efficiently secured both men with heavy-duty zip ties. He placed a packet of evidence beside them, copies of Helen's notebook pages, the financial printouts, and laid his mother's small, framed photograph gently on Holt's chest. He retrieved Holt and Reed's service weapons, unloading them and placing them near the evidence packet. He surveyed the scene. 2 incapacitated targets, evidence clearly presented, no lethal force used. Satisfied, he activated the burner phone, sending the prearranged coded signal, a simple text reading "package ready for pickup" to Tyler Gray's burner. Then, melting back into the shadows, Alex Martinez vanished as silently as he had arrived. Minutes later, sirens approaching, radio silence likely lifted as the local jammer deactivated on timer or distance. Tyler Graves and Officer Miller rolled onto the scene, lights flashing. They found Holt conscious, but immobilized by pain and restraints. Reed groggy from the tranquilizer, the evidence packet, and Helen Martinez's photograph. Tyler immediately secured the scene, read Holt and Reed their rights, and called for backup and medical assistance, carefully documenting everything he discovered. The takedown was complete, executed with military precision, leaving the official authorities to handle the aftermath. The arrests of Derek Holt and Mason Reed sent shockwaves through Rust Haven. Faced with the evidence found at the scene, especially Helen Martinez's notebook and photograph, implying a personal motive for the setup, and likely offered deals in exchange for cooperation. One or both officers quickly implicated Chief Brody and detailed the extent of the drug ring and the cover-up of Helen's murder. The case was swiftly taken over by the Pennsylvania State Police and the FBI, alerted by Tyler Graves and Officer Miller, who bypassed the compromised local command structure. The ensuing investigation uncovered deep-seated corruption within the Rust Haven government and police department. Chief Brody was arrested and charged with conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and racketeering. Several other town officials and known drug dealers were also indicted. The department was placed under state oversight pending massive reforms. Alex Martinez never returned to Rust Haven. He received updates on the investigation's progress through secure channels, satisfied that justice, however unconventional its initiation, was being served. He found a measure of grim closure, honoring his mother not with vengeance, but with a methodical dismantling of the corrupt system that had taken her life. He returned to his solitary existence, the ghosts of his past perhaps slightly quieter now. Tyler Graves, despite facing initial suspicion and hostility from some remaining officers, emerged as a key figure in the department's rebuilding process. His courage in investigating his superiors, combined with Officer Miller's corroboration, made him a symbol of integrity. He was eventually promoted, tasked with helping implement reforms and restore community trust, forever changed by his brief, anonymous alliance with the Delta Force legend who sought justice for his mother. Rust Haven began the slow, painful process of healing, forced to confront the darkness that had festered beneath its surface. Helen Martinez, the quiet woman who tended her garden, became an unlikely symbol of civic courage. Her story, whispered in the town, served as a stark reminder of the cost of corruption and the extraordinary lengths his son would go to avenge his mother's death, even if his role remained forever confined to the shadows.